show each state's most hated NBA player. And not surprisingly, LeBron was the most disliked baller in 24 states, as well as the most hated overall. Kyrie Irving came in second with 18 states disapproving of the Nets point guard, followed by his Brooklyn teammates James Harden and Kevin Durant with 3 states each. So just remember, everything you say is being tracked on Twitter. Shannon,
Yes.
How do you explain this?
Well, I'm not surprised. Skip, it confirmed what we already knew, but it's not a coincidence. The two guys that stood to the forefront of what was transpiring over the last year are who? LeBron James have always stepped out into the front. Kyrie Irving has become more vocal. He's become, as they say, more woke now. So I'm not surprised by this. Also,
I didn't even look. Was Kyrie up?
Kyrie was number 2.
Okay. All right.
So think about it, Skip. 1 and 2.
Okay.
Kyrie's situation, you know, everybody's taking shots at him right now. LeBron has always been. Skip, why the hell you think Michael Jordan never took a stand against anything? You know you automatically take one side off. He said it in jest, Republican buy sneakers too. If I take a stand one way or another, I'm going to take off one.
I know it was supposed to be in jest, but I think it was the truth. I think that's what he did.
But it is true. He didn't lie.
Yeah.
You know, Republicans do buy sneakers.
They do.
So, Skip, and when you take a stand, Jordan didn't take a stand because he knew he didn't want the blowback. Skip, also, who was the most hated athlete in his time? Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali didn't become beloved until 96 when they saw him lighting the torch in Atlanta.
Agreed.
People hated Muhammad Ali when he was fighting. Once he came out as Muhammad Ali, they didn't really like him when he had his government name because they said, he too brash, you bragging, you doing all this, because they'd never seen a black athlete speak with such freedom.
And then once he became a conscientious objector, I won't go fight for my country.
Right, and then when he changed his faith, when he changed his religion, all best, they really despised him. So I'm not.
And by the way, I think I'm right in saying there was an element of the black community.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Because, Skip, I had some uncles that got drafted.
Yes.
And they said, hold on, wait a minute, bro. I had to go. My family members had to go.
Yep.
You shouldn't be above that.
Yep.
So, yes, you are absolutely right. There was some in his own community that didn't like that he was not choosing to go fight a war.
Okay.
They ain't doing anything to me. But back to this, Skip. Look, I think the thing is also, anytime another guy that was disliked, and people forget this, it was Kobe. Anybody that challenged Jordan, they're automatically disliked because Jordan is this mythical creature. Skip, how dare you challenge Jordan? People used to, I know people don't want to talk about this, but let's be real, Skip. People used to despise Kobe because they said, oh, you are a copy of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Everything you do, the way you walk, the way you talk, you chew your gum, all your mannerisms, you stole.
And just for the record, I don't want to go too deep, but he did have the Eagle, Colorado incident. Just go ahead.
But I think that was, they disliked Kobe prior to that.
I agree.
Maybe that added some fuel to the fire. But I believe that any challenger to Jordan's throne is automatically disliked by a large population because Jordan, it would have been interesting to see, had they had social media, how Jordan would have played to the social media and things of that nature, 24-hour news cycles, but we don't have that, so it's hard to say. But I do know, anytime you get close to any historically great player in a said sport, you're going to get his fan base.
Yep.
They say, oh, nah, we hate you. But I'm not surprised. This confirmed what I already knew. But think about this, Skip. LeBron had the #1 selling jersey. He's on the #1 most popular team merchandise.
Yep.
The Lakers are the top draw. Appeared in 3 most watched games.
Okay.
But when you take a stand, you understand. That's what they say, Skip. You got to be. So what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to risk? Because some hatred is going to come along with it. But this is what I could never understand. Why is it so hard for people to love someone they don't know, but it's so easy for them to hate someone they don't know?
I think a lot of people think they do know LeBron. He's very forthcoming. He puts his whole life on display on Instagram, right?
He does. But how many times you heard somebody say, somebody they totally don't know, I love him, I love her?
Well, as a performer, as an athlete, as a,
So what is it?
So
what's the hate about LeBron as an athlete?
It's a good question. I got some answers.
You break it out in the simplest term. Yep. What is that hate? Open the school, seems to do great things.
Okay. All right. My turn.
Yep.
In one way, I was very surprised by this because I don't like the word hate applied to LeBron. Now, when you bring up the racial angle to this, you could be just dead right on that. That if that's operating at the base of this, then all these bets are off, and this discussion from here on is rendered moot. It's just hard for me to believe that LeBron James is hated. I think he can be overrated. That's if that's operating, I'm with that, because I've been in that camp since 2004, what was my first year on Cold Pizza? Yeah, 2004. I think it was LeBron's second year in the league. And I have all these issues, just to me, very objective issues with LeBron as a basketball player. I also think he's still the best passer in the game, and I do still think he's the greatest driver of the basketball I have ever seen. Ambidextrous, he's left-handed naturally. I've just never seen anything like the force that he is at 6'9", 270 or 80 pounds going to the basket. But beyond that, to say that he's hated, well, then it has to be on social stands, on racial social stands. And if that's going on, you got me. But I look at his followers on social. He's 87 million on Instagram, 50 million on Twitter. So that's 137 million people. I don't know how many cross over between Instagram and Twitter, but it's 137 total million followers on IG and Twitter. Do they hate him, or do some of them resent him? Are they fascinated enough, even though they resent him, that they're going to follow him?
Yeah, I think that's a part of it, Skip. Sometimes, sometimes we and I think what they did, I think it was 70,000 tweets over a period of time, and who got the most, I guess, vitriol or negative tweets, and this was it. Skip, okay, maybe an OKC Kevin Durant, okay, maybe Golden State, but Skip, 24 states, they only fit the states, Skip.
Okay.
You got damn near half the country.
So allow me to attempt to speak in generalities here for the white community.
Okay.
In my time covering sports, analyzing sports, closely watching everything that's happening sort of inside and on the periphery of sports, the most beloved black athlete within the white community to me is LeBron James. He just is, because he's a really nice guy off the court. And he does have I promise. And he takes not just stands, he takes great stands, whether you you believe in it or not. I do believe in his stands. I said it from the start. I think he's the greatest thing that happened of athletes speaking out. No one's ever been greater. I mean, I know we can go back to Ali and Bill Russell, but again, in the current climate we're in, nobody has been more outstanding and more impactful than LeBron.
I agree.
Off the court. And I think, this is just me, but even white people who don't agree with the stance, I think they have grudging admiration for his courage to speak out.
Well, I don't think so, Skip. That's why it's so easy for them to say shut up and dribble. That's why it's so easy.
There's some. It depends how hardcore we're going to go, how far right we're going to go with this discussion. But there's also a core of this, of people, black, white, whatever color, who just get sick and tired of him because I thought he cakewalked through the East, but he went to 8 straight finals. He's been to 10 finals in the last 14 years, not counting this year, obviously, through the bubble. And I think a lot of people thought the bubble was an asterisk championship because the Lakers sort of stayed together during the bubble, and I called it cubic zirconia ring.
Well, Skip, I mean, but they don't say that about football. But look at the Ravens. Ravens lost how many players to COVID? They had to miss multiple games. Lamar Jackson had to miss games, right?
All right, but they lost. But
that's what I'm saying. So because LeBron, they had to go to the bubble, and they overcame. Okay.
But speaking of social media, I think LeBron inspires a lot of resentment because he comes across as this front-running showboat who's always out there beating his own chest. He's always trying to tell you how great he is. He's always trying to make his own case that he's greater than Jordan.
Right.
That about clinched it, right? When we pulled off the 3-1 comeback.
Let me ask you a question. Does the networks mention ratings? Do they say who has the #1 comedies? Who has the #1 sitcom? Who has the #1 this?
Okay.
So that's a part of it, right?
Sure.
Everybody pats themselves on the back. Every movie franchise, so this is not, that's the thing, Skip. Everybody wants to make it seem that everything LeBron does is unique to LeBron. Skip, in the 80s, people don't realize this, but Magic Johnson and Larry Bird was in every finals, every NBA finals in the 80s. There was not one final in which Magic Johnson or Larry Bird did not compete.
Okay.
And nobody said they were tired of him going or they were cakewalking.
Because it was the greatest individual rivalry in the history of the sport.
I'm not, Skip.
And it was also black versus white,
Skip,
which was like for the networks, thank you, God.
Skip, I'm not denying that, but nobody was tired of that. When do we get tired of greatness? We should admire it.
Yeah, but he's only 4-6 in the final.
But Skip, because he's 4-6, that means he's not